And welcome back to Reality with Reality Hub. And today's guest is Mr. Will Wallace, actor, teacher, good friend of the show. Last time he was here with Rob and I, well, we had two other guests on at the same time.
We did.
Mike and Blair. It's good to have you here on your own tonight.
It's good to be back. I'm laughing because whenever I hear that music, it makes me smile.
That's good. Yeah.
It was very expensive too.
Oh.
It's supposed to be
sure
uplifting and kind of has a power to it.
Yeah, totally.
Puts you in that zone, maybe.
It's so uplifting, I want to drink my tea.
Excellent. So we're in a different studio tonight.
Again.
Yeah.
We are. Well, this is different from where I was last time.
That's right. Yeah, we've moved a couple of times. So, how have you been? It's been quite a few months since we caught up with you.
Yeah, it feels like it's been about 5 years, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's literally been over a year since we saw you.
Well, I mean, I've seen you personally since then, but I haven't. I've been. When we did that last podcast was, I think, November last year.
Oh, okay.
I think we recorded it in November or early December, and then it was released in January.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Just going from memory.
It was getting hot in the studio then. So what have you been up to during the last few months? I mean, I don't really want to go into COVID stuff because people are so bored of it, but it's the environment we're in. So how have you been coping? Things have been going on for your world?
Yeah, well, I teach acting besides acting. I act acting. Is that even a thing? So we had to switch to teaching online, and it's
how interesting.
It's a teaching world where you need to be able to, in a way, be in the room. You can do it. There are aspects of it that you can do, but it's a big adjustment, and you just have to be flexible and work so that, and then just moving, kind of just staggering through the year. And I had to get a bank loan this year, and the banks became a bit cautious for a while, but thankfully where we are, I feel like there's a bit more stable kind of economic environment, as opposed to other parts of the world, because of the way that we've dealt with the virus.
Oh, okay. Where we are in New Zealand.
Where we are in New Zealand. So I feel like, and then I got the loan, and that was great. And so, but, just kind of occupying with kind of the mundanity of my existence this year. Yeah,
it's interesting, eh?
I can relate to a little bit of that mundaneness, by establishing a kind of a routine that I've sort of set myself up for myself. But I view it as a good thing, because it's a way of just, as you say, getting through the daily tasks of being human and doing the day-to-day things that you need to do, which is part of just life.
Yeah. And
sometimes I think we use the word routine and mundane, and it sort of has a sort of a negative vibe, because your life's got to be amazing all the time, and what did you do? And there's that emphasis, which is great. Those things are great.
Yeah,
but
and the pressure of the kind of social media world, or the Instagram life's got to be cool. Right?
Yeah.
So while you were talking, it made me think about actually getting routines, or going out and walking, or exercising and being out of the house, because I did find myself at times needing to look at my phone, what's happening on Facebook, what's happening in America, what's happening around the world, at
a level that you wish you weren't.
Oh, absolutely. Almost obsessive, and then and then actually going outside and going, oh, this is what I needed. I needed to be out, exercising, and break, in a way, doing a routine or getting out to break the monotony of being at home, or having an insular kind of routine.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I think we've all got iPhones, but I don't know about other devices. They can show you your what is it? Your
screen
time, and it breaks down what you spend time on. And sometimes it's like, what the hell? Did I spend that long?
Yeah,
over the course of the day. And I think it's quite useful as a tool, just to kind of sort of
check in
and go, because that's how if you spend a few hours on your phone. I mean, I know that people use their phone for work and stuff, but if it's social media stuff and sort of wasted sort of time or distraction,
a world without phones would sort of suck. But at the same time, it's become more than a tool of connection.
Yeah,
it's become a tool of addiction.
Yeah. Like that the documentary on Netflix,
Social Dilemma. I was just going to bring that up. Yeah,
look, a lot of people have raved about it, and I've just kind of gone, Didn't you know?
Well, have you seen it though?
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Like I think the thing
Like,
is we
yeah.
knew,
We know.
but to the level.
To the level.
And to the detail. Like I always thought, there's algorithms that, I check out your post, Rob, and then I see more of your post because I've checked out on your post.
And you end up in that bubble.
But I didn't realise...
Echo chamber.
Data gathering, etc.
But also I didn't realise the manipulation that happens within it. Now that I've kind of seen the doco and gone, and I'm a bit more aware of, when I log into even the YouTube app and, what videos is it throwing to the top of my list? And
I guess my response to that was, because I listened to people talk about it on Talkback actually, as if it was just such a revelation. And I just sort of thought to myself, didn't you know this? And then I went, okay, people didn't know this. This is clearly... And I think you knew, I think you knew, Rob.
Absolutely.
But I had watched videos from... Like, for example, that Indian dude who was one of the co-founders of Facebook. I'd seen him talk before.
Sure. Yeah.
I've seen other people go on about it. I've seen explanations of echo chambers. I get it. I mean, I've listened to people talk about, on the Joe Rogan show, Ari Shaffir spent a month or a few weeks just looking at videos about cats, for example. And then he proved that everything he was suggested was always cats.
Right.
And I heard people talk about that kind of thing and went, oh yeah, I get it. So when they talked about it and it was a shock, I think it came as a real shock for parents and grandparents when the stats came up about the increase in female child suicide from 2007 onwards.
That surprised me.
That didn't surprise me, but I went, this is really what matters. This is what matters. Imagine 24/7 with that sort of
pressure.
World and that sort of immaturity in your peer group.
Yeah.
They're just hacking at you all the time.
And they had the child actors, the boy and the girl, and then they showed their daily lives and how could they live without the phone and all the pressures and stuff. And I thought that was good how they did that. But I was shocked with the stats being that
significant
huge.
increase from the year.
I know that has a psychological impact.
Yep.
And
also bearing in mind that the documentary is designed to skew in a certain way.
Yeah.
So it can paint the stats to be a little bit worse than... So I'm a total... I'm not discrediting the doco at all, but also I always take everything I view or everything I watch and go, okay, what's the opposite side of this and where in the middle ground does the actual truth lie?
Sure. And perhaps what is your bias?
What is my bias? Because
and the bias of the documentary.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And my bias actually buys into the documentary.
So does mine.
And
yeah.
Do you think it achieved its intention overall?
I felt it harped on one kind of topic a lot. I thought there was more it could have explored personally. I thought it did a good job, but it sort of really harped on one thing.
Well,
and I didn't
what
like
was the one thing?
Good question, because I can't really articulate that, but I felt like it was quite repetitive about the same sort of where it's really designed to get you kind of thing. Okay, tell me something a bit more nuanced.
But I think that kind
other things.
But I think that kind of documentary is aimed at the people you're talking about before,
the older generation who didn't know,
or the people a little less aware.
Yeah.
Like the fact that these conspiracies are out there at the moment about vaccinations and then getting like trackers or whatever, like. Those people aren't smart enough to realise we already carry a phone which is a tracker.
Sure.
So we're aware of that, so we don't buy into that so much. And so when I think there are a lot of people a little less aware, then that's not a bad thing. It's just like they're doing their life and they're doing their thing. So I think a documentary like that needs to be more.
Someone's got to arrive at that information for the first time, right?
Yeah.
Everyone arrives at it at some point for the first time.
Yeah. So for them, it's probably a kicking off point to discover more, whereas you wanted more detail.
I actually really liked and have always liked the actor who was in Mad Men.
Yeah.
And he played the
algorithm.
He played the algorithm. Yeah, well said. What a shit choice. He must have had a hard day finding work that week.
I don't know.
I didn't enjoy it. I didn't like that, but I like him as an actor in lots of things.
Oh, you didn't like his work?
No, I didn't like that role.
Oh, that device, do you mean?
I think anyone could have played that.
Oh, right.
And I would have gone, this sucks.
Right.
He played it competently. So
Yeah, right.
there's no discredit to him.
No.
But I like that actor. And the moment I saw him, I was like, oh, what's he going to do? Because he's an interesting actor.
Yeah.
But he's hamstrung just by a shit concept there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think it illustrated it well for people who sort of go, I don't really understand algorithms. When you say algorithms, it all turns to gibberish to me.
Well, now,
So you go, okay, let's personify it.
Yeah,
right? And so it does its job, I suppose.
Well, now that, like even seeing the doco, now I'm seeing, I see stuff come up onto my feed. And I go, oh.
You think he did it?
Yeah, I think that guy.
That guy from Mad Men did it.
The guy from Mad Men. So I put this on my, I wish I could just talk to him. No, what I mean is, I can see, it's like, I don't know, it's like, you waking up and remembering a dream and then going, I remember what I did yesterday that kind of sparked that dream last night. It's like there's like a link.
Yeah.
I can kind of go, I can see why that's come into my feed because I commented on this other person's post and then it saw that I'd commented and then so it's throwing me another post to kind of lure me into commenting on that one. You know what I mean? And so that's what that character illustrated to me.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I'm sure people listening right now, if they haven't seen the doco, they're like, what are these guys?
What are these guys?
Oh,
on
well,
about?
exciting times for them. They get to see the doco and go, oh, okay, someone's had an analysis.
The human harvest of information,
That's what it's really about.
Yeah, and then who uses all that information and to what end? And the end is always money. It's always the dollar sign. How can we market? How can we make money from this?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's interesting because we didn't grow up with any of that technology, no social media. So it's interesting. I always I try and take a few steps forward and go, what about this generation? What generation is it now? Generation...
Well,
something.
we went through X and Z. We got the millennials. I think they're Z.
I've lost track of that.
I think what's going to happen, it has to happen, is we've got to get Generation A now.
Yeah.
Right.
Because we run out of letters.
But they've been born into it. They've immersed straight into it. So they know no better.
They were born in the late 90s. Their formative years were...
Formed with social media devices, all those things. So my question is like, they know no better. And so their sort of whole psyche is being rewired in a way. Their whole mental processes and their attention span and the way
because they know no better, they might just take it a whole lot less seriously. I don't know.
That
maybe gives them too much credit.
And I don't think it's the thing about them being rewired. They're being wired that way. We need to be rewired.
Yeah, well, that's
we have context of a different life.
Yeah.
But
we have context of climbing trees and fields of green and going out and until it was dark and coming back to see mum and have no contact until that time. Yeah. We have a different world.
It's interesting. I see my two children and my son. He could watch YouTubers all day.
Sure.
My daughter will do it for a period of time. And then she'll start playing with her dolls, or she'll start drawing. She'll start doing. Yeah, I think it's.
Is this a difference in their personalities, or is this a difference in a girl and a boy?
I don't know if it's a sex thing, but I think it's a personality thing.
Must be right.
A temperament thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does your son have more patience for it, or does it just not get? It's not something he gets sick of.
I don't know. She might be more inquisitive and get a bit bored of it and want to do other things. But also...
Which would you have been at his age? Like her or like him?
Probably like him. I remember I had...
But you've been into TV since you were a kid.
Yeah.
So you could probably watch endless reruns of Star Wars. That would have been the equivalent.
Yeah, films and videos and stuff. And I also had these really early Nintendo... like a foldable
Game Boy or something.
Mario and
it's like
goes around the track.
Yeah, a whole bunch, and you had to fold it open.
Another ones.
I could play those for hours when I was a kid.
Yeah. God, I remember when I was 5 or 6, I had a calculator with boxing on it.
Oh, I had that one.
Beep,
yeah.
Beep. I remember the one with you used to do the numbers, and they'd come down. You'd have to
there was that one as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, good times. The boxing one.
Yeah, I wasn't cool enough to do the boxing one. Well, my parents, I wasn't. I had a lot of privilege growing up, but I didn't have that much, Stephen.
Well, wow. This is going to maybe make a difference, but I had a guilty solo father who didn't get to spend time with me, so I think he paid for it with a boxing calculator and then disappeared for a month. So
Okay.
I don't know how I got it. I didn't control the purse strings when I was 5.
No, that just made me feel really bad. I'm sorry.
It's all right, and he's dead now too. Hey man, we wanted to ask you about your perspective on how the New Zealand film and television industry is coping at the moment.
Well, like you'd probably want to ask some of the producers, but from what I can see and the crew members that I know and the people who work, it's going off. Like
that's great to hear.
And for good reason. Like film production can come and shoot here. They are less likely to be shut down. I'm seeing that the productions are still, even though we're at level 1 now, they're still following more stringent social distancing and masking guidelines.
In my experience, film sets have embraced it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's big money, and you don't ever want a production shut down.
Oh, shut down.
And they want to be shooting, but we used to have great affordable crews, a talented pool of actors, great locations, and a good tax break. And now we also have the benefit of being one of the few countries in the world that is COVID free.
Yeah, quote unquote free. Sure. So that's good news. That kind of answers a couple of other things I was going to ask you. But what about in terms of the age and stage of your own life? Has the work that you've enjoyed in the past been available recently or looking to be in the near future? We can sort of write off this year, but as a result of this year,
I've worked on West Side this year, and I've got a role in a film coming up, as well as the teaching. I think as an actor, you go through different stages, right? And I've moved from my 30s into my 40s. Now I'm in my mid-40s, towards my 50s, and I say with a smile.
I think that's all of us here on the table.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, you kind of go from, if you're in between the stages of 30s, 40s, you almost becoming, I might have talked about this in the last podcast, a bit uncastable, because you don't look like you're in your 30s, you don't quite look like you're in your 40s, and so I think there's plenty of work there, and with more foreign production coming in, there's going to be more opportunity for work. Whether we win it or not is up to the casting, but there's that, plus hopefully stronger and more New Zealand production as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm really glad to hear there's more New Zealand production.
Yeah,
I think I've started to really worry about the landscape of what's available and what's going on. Having been in a recent television production as a bit player, really, I've kind of looked at that and seen it do very averagely okay. It has secured a second season, and I'm excited about that. But it just seems like gone are the days when things are rated very well, and with public television being the medium that the one I'm in is on, I just think it's dying, and I wonder where it's going in relation to Netflix.
Well, I think
pay to watch services.
I think we're in a transition stage, so we're in a stage where most people have moved on from free to air, right, and people are moving across to Netflix and TVNZ on demand and. Is it 3 now? Is it the
streaming services?
Services, thank you.
Yeah.
And so you've got Amazon Prime and YouTube Premium, and you've got all these services.
Yeah.
Apple Plus,
Apple Plus TV.
But I really discount
Disney Plus,
the 3 now, and the TVNZs and so forth, because their whole design is put it on air free first and then rewatch later, which you might not even know about if you didn't watch it on air first.
Well, that's right,
so it's problematic.
And the advertising within that, and I think now I could be totally wrong, but I think the charter says that.
Yeah, this is right.
Anything that is New Zealand on air funding or New Zealand funding
has to be free.
Has to be free.
They don't get funding for the production unless it can be guaranteed to be free to the public and people of New Zealand.
Which is fair enough.
I love it.
We pay for it, right?
Yeah, but wouldn't it be better if they could put it on, if they could fund it and it could go on, say, a Netflix or something like that, because then you would really get exposure of it.
Yeah.
And you know, like, you noted when you came in, we all had our smartphones out and sitting on the desk. We've all got an iPhone. This is existence today. And another thing that is a requirement of existence is a broadband plan. So that stuff is ground level now. Well, that's not obscuring you from existing.
No, it's not. And so we're not getting the huge numbers probably that we were when there weren't as many options. Now we're competing with all the great shows on all those platforms, and people, their watching time is divided between all those platforms. So, we need to be making great stuff that people want to watch, but also it needs to be in front of people. And there's probably, and I'm guilty of it as well, I'll go to Netflix first, watch everything I want to watch there, and then I'll go, what's on TVNZ? But I think that...
But you have a healthy interest in local culture.
But there's great foreign... there are also great foreign shows and films and stuff being... When I say foreign, American and English.
Yeah, sure.
England, so they're not really foreign.
Yeah.
The international shows, I think I'm just doing this with... No one can see this, but I'm doing like a pendulum move with my arms, right?
Yeah, right.
So I think it's like a pendulum shift. So at the moment, everyone's going, Netflix and all that are really new. And as long as TVNZ and those streaming services can survive, then people will start to go, actually, no, I want to check out some New Zealand stuff, and I'll turn on the TVNZ on demand app, and I'll watch some stuff.
I'm convinced that the charter, not that we have any power over it here on Reality Hub, I'm convinced that the charter needs to be updated. I think maybe it can be on air for free first, but it's got to make its way onto these other platforms, the content, for people to see it, because so many people have simply... They literally don't even have an aerial into the back of their box, their television anymore.
Yeah, I pulled the satellite dish off the side of my house because it had broken,
and that was a fixture for many years.
Yeah, but I mean, thankfully we can on demand and we can live stream TV. But no, you're right. I guess it's the how it is taxpayer money, so it needs to be. This is a question they can answer, but it's a digital platform, so surely Netflix could even go, these shows,
these ones are free.
These ones are free. You know what I mean? Like
that's a really interesting point. Actually,
you can have an account, and even if you don't have a valid subscription, certain shows could be viewed free. Like it's just a website, so it's not like technically they could do it. But how do you get the money back? Because it needs to generate money to pay for it.
Yeah.
They need to be able to sell the product in this. So, it's a big curly question for more intelligent people than me to answer.
Yeah, I think so.
I often thought if I could pay for a TVNZ on demand subscription like I do for Netflix, I actually would. If it were at a reasonably priced sort of figure, let's say it was $5 or $6, I would pay for that, not to have the ads.
Well, I thought one model would be that they offered that you had a membership that you either paid a subscription for, so you didn't have to watch the ads. Yeah. Like you're saying, and if you didn't want to pay and you wanted it free, then you could watch the ads. Yeah. Or you could do a thing where you have a certain amount of credits, or you go, I just want to watch this one show or this one film without ads, and you click on it and it charges you a nominal amount. Yeah. And you don't, probably the same amount they would make for you to watch those ads within that.
Yeah, because I just want to bring up,
gets in the way of that again.
I want to bring up, you don't want to say, no, let's get rid of ads, because we're both in the industry where we're commercial actors and ads.
I live off ads.
So it's like, hang on a minute. There's a place for marketing and an advertisement, whether it's on these different platforms. So you don't want to get rid of them.
No.
I don't think they will ever get rid of, because there's always a
No, but you
market
pay
for it.
when you
But-
watch Netflix and you have a
Exactly. Yeah, I
subscription,
know
you
what
don't
you're
have
saying.
ads in it.
Yeah. But you want to get a way around that where you can not
The
put
advertising industry needs to figure out other ways of getting ads in front of you.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That should sort of be their problem.
Well, they do. They
Yeah.
do.
Facebook feeds
these
and-
games I play.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
these
through all the
games-
platforms.
Games you play on your phone, they play ads and
Yeah.
You've got to watch an ad for the next ticket
There's-
to play.
there's
YouTube.
lots of avenues, brand ambassadors aligning to celebrities, all there's heaps of avenues.
Yeah.
I mean, as you say, the smarter people know. That's why they get paid the big bucks, because it's their job to figure these things out and go, how do we make the most money for these guys?
And I guess look, we could hypothesize till the cows come home, because I just realised that if you gave the option of you can pay a subscription and then you won't get to watch the ads, or you can not pay and you watch the ads, it means that when they're trying to sell that advertising space, they're not able to guarantee amount of viewership. So I guess it would undervalue the amount that they want to pay for that time.
Oh, they're so stuck. Their model is really rooting them.
Yeah. So
They've got a paradigm they haven't found an answer to.
There must be a way around. Look, we never thought that when when the music industry had Napster, and when all that happened, they found that pendulum swung. Everyone was pirating, and then now I don't know anyone who's down.
No,
to
Steve Jobs solved that problem for them.
I don't know anyone who really pirates movies anymore. It's like because you've got access to it.
I have to
Make
admit,
it available.
occasionally there is stuff that comes through I see a really good preview trailer for, and nothing I subscribe to has it. Carries it. I'm just going, I've got to find this somewhere. Often I can't find it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I jump on YouTube a lot because, as I was saying before, I like reviews on cars and stuff. But I've noticed there's ads every flipping few seconds almost at the start. There's more and more ads, invasive ads. And I guess if you go into YouTube Premium, that gets rid of that.
I finally bought YouTube Premium to get rid of it.
It's convinced you.
It's so good.
But so
I paid for YouTube Premium for a while so I could watch Cobra Kai. And now it's gone on Netflix.
Now it's on Netflix anyway. See, interesting though, right? So is that an admission that from Google that YouTube sort of failed to take off as a subscription service?
I think so. Yeah, I think that
because so then
that would
it
have
gets
been
viewing numbers on Netflix. Chart in New Zealand, are you listening? Because there are great productions, West Side being one of them. I think they've done all right, but there are others that could get higher viewership.
I suspect at some point all those shows will end up on Netflix or something like that.
Yeah,
surely.
the main restriction in terms of free to people is flawed in my opinion, because if you say it's got to be free, well, you've still got to pay for electricity and you've still got to have bought a television, so you've still had to enter into the game with some kind of payment to view, right? Your family has at least. So given that everyone has a phone anyway, and everyone's already got a subscription to Netflix probably anyway, and they've certainly already paid for broadband or they've paid for some sort of data, those are the minimum bottom equivalents to electricity and a TV now.
Well, it'll be a tipping point, right? There'll be a tipping point when, I don't know where it's at the moment. I feel like it's probably like at 90% of people probably have access to Netflix, but that's probably from my worldview, and it's probably not that high. But there'll be a point where, like you say, everyone has it. So it's because the thing is, if it's taxpayer money, everyone needs to be able to watch it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And that's why when the government gave the money for the Rugby World Cup, they need to have a certain amount of games that we could all watch for free.
I wonder if they could resolve it by selling it to Netflix, but having a deal that the following week the free-to-air ones play it for free.
Maybe.
And then you've resolved that issue.
Yeah.
As a teacher of acting and an actor, what's
segue.
The current view of the future of acting in New Zealand by your students at the moment? Is there a real positive outlook or a negative outlook of what lays ahead for an industry? I can't really remember what it was like being 24.
The students or younger, they're to 20s.
Yeah.
I don't know. A lot of them are worried about, because they've had such a disrupted year, what this does for the training. Even though we've pretty much done everything we would have normally have done.
Oh, that reminds me. Did you do any scene technique classes?
Via Zoom.
Because it's a camera.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Well, also my thing was like they're being confronted by their face on screen on all these Zoom meetings and all these things. So
get used to it.
They're getting more and more used to it. So in a way, it's a certain amount of the training.
Yeah.
And just being able to stop looking at your face and thinking, oh, I'm not as handsome as I think I am. And we don't know what art, what films will be written, what music, what performances will be created by the stresses, the confinement, the situation that we found ourselves in this year, what that's going to create. We won't know. I suspect
the artistic expression of that
pain.
I
suspect because everything's individual, right? So they're having the students are having a very different experience than we had when we trained.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it may end up that there's a reservoir of something that is just different.
What's going on at the other drama school? The one that does the 1 year courses.
TAP, I don't know.
How are they coping with that?
They've been training, like those students are just, like I'm just saying now, like those students are just having a different experience.
Yeah.
They've still got the same great teachers, the same, great eye watching and helping and guiding. So it's just got to trust and look, we're here. If you go, was it flow? If you just go with it and take out of this experience what it's giving us, resilience, community, the negative,
for some
the
people,
stress,
for some people,
for some people, Well, whatever you're getting
for others,
out,
it's all of those things they need. The community especially.
Yeah, but but even if we're getting negatives out of it, that's feeding part of my my reservoir of emotion that I'll be able to tap into. As long as it's done as
I forgot we weren't talking about normal people. We're talking about artistic people. Actually, I know we've sort of mentioned this, but do you think we've got much of a chance of being the substitute Hollywood for a period of time? And I think the answer kind of is yes, but what is that period of time?
I don't know if we can be the substitute Hollywood, but I think we could be the substitute Canada. Like we can be the Toronto, the South Pacific Toronto, or Vancouver. They have a huge amount of production happening there. If we took 10,
is Canada doing
if we took
right?
10 or 5% of, I don't know.
Yeah.
But if we took 5 or 10% of the amount of production. There's so much production happening right now. They're struggling to crew it all.
That's always been a problem we've had
when we have a lot of production. So if we can, it's about maintaining it. So if we can keep it all coming and
in order to keep the crew,
and it keeps flowing, and it can even grow. That we have, they're trying to build a studio down in Christchurch. So if there was a studio in Christchurch that was fully working, in Wellington and all the studios up here, and maybe there was another one in the Hawke's Bay.
It should be great to have a studio in Christchurch.
Yeah, it'd be great, and all these places, and we've got schools producing young crew who can grow, and it could be a really strong industry that's continually working.
Because there's already a foundation there, and there's a track record, so it's just about building on that. And expanding that and growing that, and
why not?
And with the current conditions, it's swinging sort of in our favour.
I hope so. I don't want to be naive about it, but I think it's the possibilities there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure in the background, New Zealand producers and people more qualified, I'm sure they're out there working it. And you can already see the producer of Avatar, the way they talk about being able to be down here filming, and
they've expressed that they want to do all the sequels here, or they have. I think they finished the second one,
and
close to.
And beyond that, it just I guess it reminds what we're doing right now reminds everyone of the uncertainty of what can happen in different places. Unless you've got somewhere that you can go, hey, this place is going to be reasonably stable for a long period of time, then it makes it safe. Because someone was telling me that one of the major problems is insurance.
Right.
It costs a huge amount to insure these kind of productions.
Yeah.
Right? And so they won't okay insurance on a production if it's going to be shut down because of possible cases of a pandemic or whatever, unstable government or whatever, so
everything right down to earthquake actually.
Yeah, so if you can't,
it might rule Christchurch out.
Well, there may never be another. There was never a major earthquake.
Unless you're Tom Cruise, who threw what was it Fallout or the one before that where he broke his leg and then they shut down for 6 weeks.
Yeah,
so it's amazing that
I don't know how he gets insured, but yeah.
Wow. Well, they shoot most of his dangerous stuff at the end of the movie just in case, I think.
Yeah, maybe.
Clever.
He's awesome.
Mm.
You think about it, he reinvented. Well, he didn't. Like, he's slowly grown into this action star who does everything.
Well, here's the thing. He's bringing it back to the rawness and the realness. We went down that path of total CGI. Remember all those Transformers films and the Michael Bay films? And it was like, who can do the bigger CGI and visual effects?
Yeah. No,
and he's bringing it back.
Realistically.
Well, hang on. Let's get the actor to do the stunt.
The Christopher Nolan stuff as well. Like me growing up
and
with James Bond. Yes. Those are those franchises that
have kept the
real stunts as possible, and then they,
of course, a
little bit of wire work, maybe.
Well, but the CGI adds to it.
Yeah.
It's not all, but then there's a place.
It's bringing it back.
There's a place
down
for Marvel
into a sort of a more real, raw, and that's the actor doing it. So you go,
that's special.
That's special. Yeah,
it is special.
Yeah.
So, what do you reckon the future of cinema is?
Oh man,
going out to the movies
versus the future of television. Versus
look, I really hope that the cinematic. I really hope I hope cinemas survive.
I think it's a great experience
because there's nothing quite like I was saying earlier, right? We can be stuck in our house and we're doing stuff all the time. It's going out.
Yeah.
Breathing the night air, walking into a cinema, buying an ice cream or whatever, sitting down, having a shared experience with a community.
Yeah.
That's cinema, right? And so whether even the film's good or bad, you've been out, you've done something, and then you go home, you walk outside, and it's a starry night, or it's raining, you've got to run to the car, whatever it is, you've done something physical, and you've gone out, and you've had a communal experience. If we're just always inside watching that helps us pass the time and it takes us away from our lives.
It's convenient, but you don't get the experience.
No,
same experience.
So the future, I really hope that cinemas survive. It's I think it's probably super rough on them at the moment because I don't know how long they can last if they keep pushing the big films, but then they can't.
Oh, like James Bond's being pushed again.
Which makes sense because Tenet didn't do as well in the box office. But
Tenet was good.
Is that out now?
Yes,
in New Zealand?
Tenet's amazing. But I think what they
do is...
it's
really good.
But they just have to leave them in the cinema for a really long time. They used to put them in and pull them quite quick.
This whole opening weekend stuff, just forget about that.
Just leave them
there. Yeah.
And let us... And keep ticket... Sure, you can't pack the cinema out.
Keep them rolling,
but have it, have it socially distanced while we have to, and then when we get back to being able to cram people in then. So we're not going to be like this forever.
Treat it like The Gods Must Be Crazy, and just leave it in the cinema for years.
Do you remember that film?
Oh yeah, the Coca-Cola bottle that hits him on the head.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Where do you think it's at with web content? Because for me, it's always been a sort of an era of, I don't know, people don't take it seriously.
I really don't know. I don't watch enough, I don't. It's not a genre that it's not
or a medium.
It's not a medium. Thank you. A medium. It's not a medium that I watch because
unless you watch YouTube.
I haven't even checked out. Is it Quibi? I don't know. There's that new streaming service, and they're 10-minute long, like Luke Hemsworth's, and
really,
I get advertised all the time. It's like an app you get for your phone, and some of it's shot in 9:16, like up and down.
Oh, that's special.
And they're
it's shot like a portrait.
I think they're like shorter bites, and there's like 10 episodes. So I like watching long form. Like I like experiencing characters. I'll tell you what. During the pandemic, I have not watched a single like modern show. Like I'm either watching sci-fi or swords and sandals, or you know, what I mean, like I'm
like sci-fi, adventure, fantasy.
yeah,
that
like
sort of
like completely
Swords
away
and
from.
sandals.
Swords, yeah, I was just going to.
It's a genre, right? It's not an actual show called Swords and Sandals.
No, there should be one, but starring you and me and Rob, or like
Yeah.
three middle-aged men.
I'll wear the sandals.
Yeah, I'll wear the sword. Hang on, how's that like? But because it's such escapism,
Yeah.
I don't want to watch Suits.
Mm.
You know, as much as I like Lewis Litt, he's a fantastic
He's a
actor.
funny man.
And I just, whatever the actor's name, I don't mean to be disrespectful. If you ever hear the show, I think you're amazing.
Yeah.
But it's not life at the moment, you know, and it's
No.
too close, you know. It's like a,
Sure.
and so when we get back to some normality, then I'll be back into that kind of show. But at the moment, it's either historical drama or, you know.
I must confess that I watched this year, because of the time available to me,
Yeah.
and I'd never watched them before, the entire series of Friends.
But that's the 90s.
I know.
You
But
go
it's the
retro.
90s, that's historical.
But it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's in the same category as what you're talking about,
Yeah, yeah.
largely. But I have to say, they, apart from a few episodes, were actually quite well written. And they were classically funny.
Yeah.
I got sick of only the fact that they too often utilised the concept of one of the friends hiding the truth from the other.
Yeah.
I'm going to lie to him to get through the situation type of setup. They used that scenario too often, but apart from that, there were some very creative ways of storytelling. They were very good, and they stand up today.
And they didn't need humour that that is dated. Do you know what I mean? Like there's nothing. Very, very rarely is there kind of humour within that show that you go, oh, I don't know if you'd make that in 2020.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that happened, but you're right. It was very
it was
rare.
very rare. It did happen.
Very rare.
but-
They were quite woke too, right from that time. They were really sort of, apart from the fact that they didn't have many, for example, people of colour in the cast.
yeah.
They started to get more of that towards the end, but it's still, the fact is they're all white middle class people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting, like, when you say woke, I not love it. It's like, I find it amazing how concepts that are actually good about waking up to my privilege or to life, but when people don't want people to do that, they make it a bad word. So now woke is a bad thing.
Well, the origins of woke is interesting, the actual where it came from.
Because they lump it all into one thing. So it's not like, you know, they lump every, it's like PC.
Yeah.
So PC's bad. It's like, well,
Yeah.
yeah.
I guess a better way of putting it
when
was
it's taken
Friends have always been quite
Well,
progressive.
no. I'm not having a go at what you're saying. Like,
Sure.
it just made me have this whole train of thought. Like when, you know, I find it amazing. Green. It's like, oh, greenie. It's like, when did it become a bad word? When, I care about the environment. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I care about fish stocks.
I want to be able to eat food forever.
And yeah, me too. So, with all that sort of stuff in mind, anything that's been happening in your personal life that's been an interesting shift or realization for you?
Any epiphanies in life, sort of aha
Something that might
moments,
have
realizations?
value to others, maybe.
Yeah.
I only really kind of what I mentioned before about this kind of going, you know, I need to make sure I don't get locked into a solitary kind of thing. Like, I've always enjoyed going out and being around people. That's how I kind of get my energy. And I think it's easy to fall into a bit of a hermit lifestyle because of COVID and the lockdowns and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's an epiphany though, you know, like life's...
It sort of
pretty
is. It's sort of a realization that might not be particularly different or new, but when you reinforce that realization as, hey, actually, this is really significant.
Yeah.
I need to get out, and I need to get my energy from being around people. This is something that I might have taken for granted because I always did it. Now I really realize it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like when it's taken away from you, you know, like it's being able to go out and hang out with people and when I say taken away, rightly so. Like, we needed to socially distance, and we needed that time to break the chain. But when you're there and you go, oh, now, like, here I am sitting with you guys and chatting, and that's the value of life. You can watch Netflix till the cows come home. I've said that twice tonight. I haven't probably said the cows until the cows come home since I was living in Dannyburg.
Well, we are social species, I mean, I've said many times.
We evolved this way.
Yeah, we were communal, so we like to connect, and I get my energy from turning inward and being on my own. But it's also
but you go out to nature though.
I find other ways of connecting, but I get drained if I'm around too many people. But that's about knowing myself. And in a few of the opposite, where you need social interaction, and that's where you get your energy. That's great, but I think there's always a balance. So I don't want to be, as you're saying, I don't want to be completely isolated and from the world and reality. It's important to break out of that and actually engage in stuff as well. Even if you prefer maybe being solitary and on your own, because you got to get out there and live and do things and. And but it's having that awareness, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely.
See this little salt lamp here between us. This would
that no one can see.
That no one can see.
Yeah.
This is
Himalayan salt.
Well, yeah,
of course.
This is the equivalent of the campfire that we would have,
Well, if you could just get it
sat around and talked.
Get it to flicker a little bit.
Yeah.
See if I can.
I may have mentioned this before on the previous podcast.
Yeah.
The theory on going to the cinema is it flickers like a flame of a campfire,
and it's quite hypnotic, quite relaxing. Yeah, that's true. I was going to say, a lot of us put our identity into certain things, like our job.
Yes,
right, and so that for some people has been killed in recent times, because they've either lost their job or they couldn't just simply do it. Or the sort of kind of relationships we're having, or something like that, And in these changing times, what's been able to help you cope over those last 6 months as the world burns around us?
What's that?
Patterns or habits or something you've discovered, and you've already mentioned one that you discovered. You've got to get out and see people. Hard to do in level 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't know.
Or another way of putting it is, what's kept you sane?
I'm really, really lucky that I have a ridiculously strong glass half full attitude.
Right.
And so, I don't know, my mother, I think, kind of drilled it into me, Murphy's Law. And, and you never know what's going to happen. And And so, I always hold on to that. When in whatever lockdown we're in, it's like at least with family, or everyone's working together. We're doing this. It's even now people are like, oh, how long is this going to go on for? Well, it's going to go on for as long as it's going to go on for.
Yeah,
there will be either a vaccination, or we'll get to a point where the virus is understood, and we can go back to a normal life, and then it can be dealt with in a way that's healthy, and masses of people aren't dying. We're going to get to that point. I trust science, and so I don't know. I don't know. Like, when everyone is rushing out buying toilet paper before the first lockdown,
hilarious.
I went to Bunnings and Mitre 10.
Yeah,
and bought wood and paint
because you knew you would have things to do.
I had a whole lot of I've always had a whole lot of projects around the house that I'm kind of thinking about.
Did you actually get them done?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
I just cracked into it,
that's great.
With the kids and we would do stuff, and we'd go for walks and I like you going for your walks, right? Going hitting the beach and doing a long walk. For me, just doing something physical with my hands, I think, and I'm doing stuff. Yeah. So that's how that's how I got through. I wish I had a silver bullet that you could give your audience a go. This is, I don't know.
But everyone's going to be...
And talking to people. You know what? If it's one thing I've learned in the last, even longer than COVID, because, my mother passed away January last year, then my marriage, we split up and went through all that, and then we get into the pandemic, etc. And if it's anything that I've learned, was, one, I can't control anything.
Big lesson.
I have no control. But the other was actually talking to friends.
Right.
So having moments when I was really struggling, or when I came and stayed with you for a bit. And,
Oh, that's right.
And thanks for remembering. And the coffee group that we share, or I would phone. If I was I would pick up the phone, and call a friend.
Yeah, you were good at that.
And so but I learnt it.
Yeah.
In this period of my life,
Not everyone would do that.
I know, but it only came to me, and so I guess that's the thing I've learned.
And I think I remember saying this to you at the time, or at least this is how I felt anyway. The fact that you picked up the phone and called me and Bridget and said, "Hey, can I stay at your place for a little while?" Just because you were working out your routines with the kids and stuff, right? It was such an honour to say yes, because you want to give to your friends, but you don't know how to kind of know when the right moment is to knock on their door, or what to say, or how to tell them you're going to be a good friend. But you gave me the chance to be a good friend by asking. And anyone out there who's afraid to ask doesn't realise that the people that love you want to say yes, because they kind of just want to spend time with you.
Because I think we all sit there, like the analogy or the example would be, people get up and they give a speech, right? And in their minds, they're up there, and everyone's going to hate me. They all hate me. You get this negative self-talk.
Yep.
Right. But when you're the same person who's thinking that when they're up on stage, when they're sitting in the audience and they're watching someone else do it, they want them to be good. They don't want them to fail. They're thinking positive things. It's only us, And so when you're sitting there alone, or you're going through something and you're thinking about not calling a mate, it's like, I don't want to impose on them. I know, what are they going to think, or what are they going to do? And you nailed it, Steve. It's like, I'm robbing them of the opportunity,
exactly,
to express their feeling for me.
Yeah, you calling me gave me the opportunity to go, hey man, you're really important to me. Of course you can.
So in a way, if I didn't call you, I was being selfish.
Yeah, I know you've got a wry smile on your face, but in a way, it's quite true.
In a way, and so, but that's what I learned. It's not imposing, and because I would want any of my friends, if they needed it, to you don't want to find out too late that someone needed help and you weren't there to listen, or and so
yeah. Besides, I remember coming back from Japan in 2013 and crashing in your caravan. That's just what you do for friends. Yeah. Man, it's been a nice podcast. Anything else you want to finish up on before we hit the music?
No.
I just thought you were going to say hit the whiskies.
I'll do that. But I have zero. If I've said anything intelligent, I'm out. I'm spent. You've drained me.
That's what we do here on Reality Hub. All right. Have a good night, mate.
Well, you too.
Thanks, Will.
Thanks.